In 1970, veteran Italian saxist and library musician Sandro Brugnolini released the album Overground on Synchro Edizioni Musicali, and from it the track Alipid. Kind of a creepy little bass ostinato there. And yet perky at the same time. Okay, I should say it's really muffled. It sounds like it's being recorded like in an adjacent room or something, and there or there's like blankets around the recording of it. It's got this almost kind of like shadowy feel to it. And then we have that sound that. Kind of fuzzy tremolo laden guitar. Like that fuzzy sustain and that kind of surfy twang. Pretty simple drum setup. I could imagine that this pattern has been sampled though somewhere. A lot of early 60s sounds in this for 1970. You got that organ, that like old like combo organ from 1960, or like soul jazz, or early 60s pop combo organ with that guitar that harkens back somewhat to the surf era. And kind of like a wipeout drum fill. And now we're getting all psychedelic and acidic in that guitar. It's kind of like the early 60s getting swallowed up by the late 60s. Now the drumming kit sounds a whole lot fuller than it did earlier in the track, when it sounded like a really simple setup, like a snare and a kick drum really is what it sounded like. And now he's got like all these like toms and everything. He's just rolling right through them. The whole thing has been in D minor, pretty much. What's making that sound? Is that a voice? A little bit of wah-wah, this like slight echoey thing, although I wouldn't expect something like that this early. That, hear that? I guess it's like an echoey wah sound that you hear like on a mid-70s Herbie Hancock record or something. Like wah-wah Watson or... Huh, that the ostinato that just wouldn't quit until it, you know, until they unplugged it. Yeah, that was Sandro Brugnolini with the track Alipid from his 1970 release Overground. Let's hear another track from the album, Brain. Basically acoustic plucking, mostly an A minor and a rise to D with some open strings. Two. So far I can't tell if this is supposed to be haunted or hallucinogenic. Echoey, droney, sustain. Some kind of vibey sounds, sustained, but in the... Obviously, a lot of improvised droning noises around a very loose acoustic structure. A bass pattern is picking up in my right speaker anyway. That sounds like almost like independently recorded from everything else. I'm wondering if the rest of this is going to get swallowed by that bass line. You can just picture the trippy Super 8 footage with like fade in, fade out objects and lights and glowing, sparkling objects that could accompany this. Right here, it's sounding like a precursor to Go, Stomy Yamashita, that album with Michael Shreve, Klaus Schultz. That I did that last year. There's some like what sound like classical percussion, kind of low in the mix in the background, kind of emerging. actually just going to keep getting more and more intense and convoluted. If there were vibes on this, just kind of lightly drony, echoey, but to give a slight glowy effect, I kind of wish they were brought up more, or whatever that glowy tone is I'm hearing underneath this was brought up to the fore a bit more. Yeah, I wonder what kind of brain experience this is supposed to represent. And that was Sandro Brugnolini with the track Brain from his 1970 release Overground. And before that, Alipid, one of a few library records he put out. One of 5 records in this vein, I guess, he put out between 1969 and 1973. And yeah, in 1970 alone, he put out Overground and Underground, and which have become popular, I guess, in rare groove circles among people looking for breaks and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, for more Rubies and Sapphires from his catalog and that of many other Italian library composers, see the directory of albums by Italian artists linked in the description below for Red Hot Tracks and Purples from dozens upon dozens of Italian library albums, as well as by artists in other veins of music like jazz rock, symphonic rock, folk rock, singer-songwriter, new wave, electronic. Yeah. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, share the video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the 2 tracks we just heard. The trippiness, the hallucinogenic quality, the kind of sense of different time periods just kind of being meshed together. Not too far apart, but, the recent past at the time of recording and the present. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, there aren't many like American or English records from the time period that would simultaneously kind of be kind of just like just right after the psychedelic era, and yet harkening back to the earlier '60s and combining elements like that. Yeah, and then the second track was just in a class of its own, just really avant-garde, kind of like hallucinogenic movie scene of an experimental movie from the time period. Yeah. Well, until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled Trameximist, signing off.